Welcome back to the King Closer Reacts. I am the King Closer, RJ Bass III, and today I'll be reacting to some YouTube shorts. See what I think about these. These people know what they're talking about or not. Let's get into the first video.
Where did you learn your sales skills?
School of Hard Knocks, baby. I've got no skills, sales training, none of that. The crazy thing about this is that I don't even really consider it sales because we're buying. Okay. What's crazy about this is like we're the only industry in which we feel like we have to get trained on how to buy something. Like, think about it. You don't have to get trained on how to go to Walmart to buy a tube of toothpaste.
You're buying, but you're really negotiating.
Are we negotiating?
Yeah.
Do we have to?
I mean, you could do the shotgun approach where you just give them a lowball offer, and if they take it, great. If not, you just move on.
What if we don't give offers? See, this is where it changes.
It's like reverse psychology.
Yes. For me, it's about, do you want to sell?
Yes.
How much do you want for it?
What if they say, I don't know?
They give you the price 90% of the time. More often than not, they're like 200,000. Tell me what you got going on with that property. Open-ended question. It just opens them up to talk about what's important to them. Pain, motivation, why they were looking to sell the property.
So that was obviously a podcast I did with Brian Davila. And you know what's hilarious is that inside of this industry, we honestly believe that what we are doing when we are buying properties, we need sales skills. And I understand where this comes from, because even like what Brian was talking about there, well, we're negotiating, right? We have to, do we just lowball? How do we get these for a discount? Well, we have broken it down inside the closer's formula, where in the ideal situations, if you can navigate the conversation, do you want to sell a property? How much do you want for it? Tell me what's going on. We identify their pain and their motivation. Once we identify that the seller is motivated to sell that property, we can then match that motivation to the price that we need. How do we do that when the price is incorrect? We do that by educating them on how we come up with their numbers. We're getting rid of this theory that we have to lowball sellers. That doesn't work. What works is actually explaining it with transparency and authenticity and just honestly telling the seller, this is why I need to buy your property for this much. Because the house could be worth this much if we fix it up. It's going to cost us this much to fix it up. We're going to have holding costs. We're going to have closing costs. And I want to make profit. It's not a lowball. It's just a real, true offer for what the property's worth.
Tailoring deals to your buyer's preferences will set you apart as a reliable wholesaler. Think of this like the customer service in real estate. What I like to call this is the buyer's box. The buyer's box is a specific type and detail property that the buyer will tell you they want. For example, they'll say something like a house that's no older than 1970. There must be 3 bedrooms plus, or needs to have at least 1.5 bath. Must be in this zip code and absolutely stay away from this zip code. Those details that they give you are simply a buyer's box.
All right, good old Max Maxwell. Good to see you back in the wholesaling game here, Max. I know you went over to Dubai and got into the new construction and whatnot, but listen, I appreciate the buyer's box. We all understand what that means. However, in 2025, we now have technology that tells us what that buyer's box is. So we don't have to ask. In fact, I think a lot of newer wholesalers waste time calling buyers or hiring a virtual assistant to call buyers and ask, what is your buy box? And to find out that information, 1970s newer, 3-bed plus, 1.5 bath plus, in a specific zip code. What we can do now, utilizing softwares like InvestorLift, InvestorBase, Privy, PropStream, we can actually go in. And when we get a property in a specific zip code, we will know what buyers have purchased a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath in that zip code, for how much, how long they owned it, and what they sold it for. That has significantly changed the game for wholesaling. So yeah, we need to know the buy box, but we don't need to ask them. We can just see it on the technology we have available at our fingertips.
I think these are the 3 mistakes that you're making in your real estate wholesaling approach that are stopping you from reaching that financial freedom. Number 1, you're relying on outdated methods that are stuck in the past. You're probably using strategies that don't even work in today's real estate market. And instead, you should be focused on qualifying sellers by finding out what are the factors that really motivate them. Like, are they going through a divorce, a foreclosure? Do they have property liens? And really, don't waste your time on sellers that don't even fit that criteria. Number 2, you are most likely underestimating the power of networking. And this is a hard lesson that I had to learn. Success in wholesaling and being a real estate investor isn't a solo journey. Networking is so crucial. So instead of going at it alone, connect with other wholesalers, investors, and mentors to help you build those relationships that you both can benefit from. And number 3, you're letting your fear dictate your decisions. So that fear of failure is holding you back. And don't let it. Instead, you should look at risks that come with real estate wholesaling as life-changing opportunities. And in a few days, I'm giving you my exact wholesale blueprint.
We ain't trying to listen to your sales pitch, Natty, but I love your top 3 tips. All right, that was fire. First and foremost, on the outdated systems. Just going right back to what Max Maxwell was talking about. You got to find the buyer's buy box. Well, we have technology that does that for us nowadays. And then as far as the power of networking, we see it all day, every day inside of Titanium University. Just like 5 minutes before me hopping in here to record this, we had Cage out of Nebraska, just got his first deal after his 3rd day inside of Titanium University. He locked it up with Todd Chun, who's been with us since like the 3rd class ever. So he's already networking with another TU member. They're doing a deal together in Detroit, Michigan. This is the power of joining a community like Titanium University where, you're ready. You're ready to take that action, but you got leads. You know how to use the closures form. You know how to comp and underwrite, but maybe you have a problem with dispositions. Maybe you're not ready to know who can purchase a property in Michigan, or maybe you don't have the bandwidth, the time to go get the softwares and call all the buyers and do all these things. You could just network with someone like Todd Chun. Todd will get it done like that. You make money. That's the power of joining one of those groups. And then the last thing she talked about, the fear. This is the issue that almost everybody runs into. They want to be a wholesaler. They want to create their own reality. But then when it really comes time to swiping that card or joining a community like Titanium University, it's like, not yet. Not yet. You know how many times I've heard someone say, I'm going to join Titanium University after I do my first deal? You could have done your first deal on your 3rd day if you just pulled the trigger. The fear is what's holding you back. Don't let it hold you back. Great advice, Natty.
If you want to make an extra $15,000 cash fast, here's what you do. The first thing to do is set the proper expectation. You're not going to make 15 grand in the next 2 or 3 days. However, if you do what I'm getting ready to tell you, you can definitely make $15,000 in the next 2 to 3 months. The best thing to do to make cash now with the lowest barrier of entry is to wholesale real estate. You can wholesale real estate with no money, no credit, and no risk if you do it the right way. Wholesaling real estate is simply finding distressed properties, getting them under contract to purchase, and then selling them to a real estate investor before closing. You didn't close on it, so you don't need any funding and you don't need any credit because you didn't get approved for any loans. And honestly, there's no risk if you put a contingency in the contract. If you want to know how to wholesale real estate, because there's some more nuance.
Okay. So this is obviously an ad, right? He's reaching out through a YouTube short and trying to get people to sign up for his program. Wholesaling takes money. Let's just call a spade, all right? You have to have resources to do this business. You have to have comping softwares. You need to be able to generate leads. You need to be able to, there's a lot that comes into this. Even hiring a transaction coordinator if you don't know what you're doing, a dispo software. To say that you don't need any cash, I understand what he's saying. You don't need the cash to purchase the property. But I did a video several months ago called 0 to $1 million in 2025. And I talked about how if you got started with $6,000, I actually gave you a blueprint on how you could do $1 million in gross revenue in 2025 with just doing 2 deals every single week this year and closing 70% of those. But it takes money. You have to have money to get started. And I don't like the narrative that we keep spinning in this industry. It's been around since before I was even here, but especially over the past decade, that we tell people that you don't need money and that it's so easy and it's the easiest way to get started. This is a simple business. It's not easy. There's a lot of nuances to it, and it does take cash. And so I want to change that narrative where it's like, no, if you're sitting there and you're thinking it's easy, it's not. Okay? It's a simple business, but you're still running a business. Entrepreneurship is hard. You're going to get your teeth kicked in, and it does require capital.
My best tip for real estate wholesalers is to think like an investor. Whenever I look at a house to buy, I am putting my investor cap on and I'm looking at the deal as if I would buy it myself. So when I'm wholesaling outside of Seattle, I have to kind of pretend that I want to buy there. For example, we had this deal we ended up selling, but it took a long time to get there because the seller did want a pretty high price for the property. I knew by running my numbers that an investor would buy this place for $450,000, but the seller wanted $500,000. Now there is some upside on this one because it was 2 units. So someone who would want to take on the flip project and then rent it out, they may be able to pay a little more because they're going to hold it long term. Now, I like to contract houses at flip prices, but when the seller wants a lot and they're willing to give us time to find a buyer, then I'll take it on. And this one, I did end up finding a buyer at $525,000. So the seller did get his $500,000, the buyer paid $525,000, and I made my $25,000 assignment fee.
So, Vena, former titaniumvault podcast guest. I love her content. I think she puts out amazing content. And right there, what she's talking about, what we refer to that is wherein buyers buy. This is how we comp and we underwrite. When you're on the phone with that seller, you are assuming the position of being the buyer on that deal. You have to look at it from their perspective. What is a true after repair value? Not the maximum property value, but if you were to buy this property and you were to fix it up, what would you want to do to it? And then how much is it really going to cost you to do that? And what I suggest to every single person, especially the newer wholesalers, if you're going virtual and you're seeing that the property could be worth $525,000, call the after repair value $500,000. Be conservative on that after repair value. And then if you think it's going to take $50,000 in rehab to achieve that $500,000 after repair value, be aggressive with that. Say it's going to take $60,000, $65,000. And then when you go to add your assignment fee in that deal, give yourself enough margin to make a nice assignment fee. $15,000, $20,000. So if your buyer beats you up on the price, you have room to negotiate. This will help you close more deals. This will increase your contract to close ratio. Ultimately, anytime you're underwriting that deal though, you need to be paying attention to how you would look at that deal if you were truly the end buyer, not a wholesaler trying to manufacture deals. We don't manufacture deals, we find them. All right, guys, that's our episode of The King Closer Reacts. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you drop a comment. Which one of these takes was your favorite? Give us a like today. We'll see you guys tomorrow.